I've brought back the baseball. I brought back the inflatable bat. And there's only one way to do it. Welcome back to Ever Disney Movie Ever. My name is Justin. I'm watching Ever Disney Movie Ever today. I'm going to talk about Air Bud's 7th Inning Fetch, or Air Bud 4, if you will. This is number 4. Air Bud's 7th Inning Fetch is a 2002 direct-to-video release. It's directed by Robert Vince, cinematography by Glen Winter, editing by Kelly Herron and Jason Pielack, music by Bram Wenger, still, and it's written by Sara, Sutton, Stephanie, Isherwood, and Vince, and Anna McRoberts. The film stars Kevin Zegers as Josh, Caitlin Wachs as Andrea, Cynthia Stevenson as Jackie, Richard Karn as Patrick, and Chantal Strand as Tammy. As I said, this is a direct-to-video release, and it is the last Air Bud film to have any of the original cast members, and by any I mean Kevin Zegers. He's no longer going to be in them going forward, and they don't get any of the original cast back for the following sequels after this, which wow. As you know, last week I started a new format, and that format ended up being really long, and so I'm still vibing with the idea of that format, but we're going to be test running some new ways to try and conquer that format. So I'm going to not eliminate, but I won't cover categories if I don't have anything to say about them. So for instance, if I have nothing to say about the directing, I'm going to skip that category, just so you guys know. I think I have something to say for every category in this one, but I am also going to try and just make every category, the things I have to say, shorter. So let's give it a shot again. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments. The establishing shots right at the beginning of this movie are really great. They're fantastic and they're stunning. And there's some great movement throughout the film as well. However, there are quite a few shots that are definite foreshadowing shots. There's shots of certain props or certain things that just make it blatantly obvious what's gonna happen or where the story's gonna go. And that took it down a few notches. Granted, I don't necessarily know if that's a cinematographer problem or a director and editor problem, but the shots still were the thing I blame. This was fine. I think there were some good edits, like the quick cuts when the car was going into the mud pig pen was really good, and there was some really good slow motion, but otherwise I don't necessarily think the editing stood out, which I suppose is a good thing. But I feel like also it was a little up and down pace-wise, which I think could also be contributed to the writing, which we'll talk about. But for the most part, I think the editing was average. I think it had some good edits and it had some bad edits. I think the music is what really shines in this film. First of all, I can't believe Bram Wenger is still doing the music for these movies. That's awesome, because it then still just has the amazing, not that it wouldn't have the amazing Air Bud theme, but the fact that it's still Bram, he just knows how to work that theme in. And the music really it shines in this one because it made me laugh out loud. It really assisted in the emotional moments. So I really think the music is the one that stands out. Specifically, anytime the music shifted for the villains, it made me laugh. And then the emotional scenes with the original theme were really great. And then in the credits, they did a big band version of the Air Bud theme, which was so good, and I loved that. This is where I've got beef, okay? I know I mentioned in the last one that I thought the whole evil dog catcher villain storyline is so unnecessary, and in this one, I couldn't agree with it more. They're in it less than the villains in the previous one, and it still is so incredibly unnecessary. Andrea dealing with Josh heading off to college, dealing with starting junior high, and dealing with trying to get good on this new baseball team that she sucks at is interesting. I was invested in that story, and every time they would cut away to the villains, I go, oh yeah, who cares about this? Why am I supposed to care about this? I think the story without that is plenty interesting, and we didn't need it, and it brought the movie down a lot. This film was an actual roller coaster for how I felt about it because of the campiness that accompanied the villains. The villains were written, directed, and acted like cartoon characters, which has a time and a place. I think these villains could have been sold in some, like Roger Rabbit. Roger Rabbit has live action people and cartoons, and when the live action people act like act like cartoons and are absolutely campy and idiotic, it fits the vibe. It makes sense. If they had set that up from the beginning, it wouldn't have felt so awful and so cringe and so not like the movie. But because we had these really amazing things, emotional things that Andrea was going through, it made the campiness of these villains so awful and just bad. And the only purpose I could see that they even had them in the movie was to make Andrea, Tammy, and Buddy late for the championship game, which could have been accomplished literally any other way. They could have had some kind of climax, like Andrea finding out about Tammy, like, not joining the team, like, forcing the coach to have Andrea join the team could have been the climax that kept Andrea from coming to the game or something. Like, it just could have been done so many other ways than these horrible, horrible villains that really brought the quality of this film down. The one addition I really didn't expect to like or know that they were in this film were Buddy's puppies. Granted, they're not puppies anymore. They're also grown. But I love that they were given to people around the town, and it created like this camaraderie. Everyone knew Buddy and everyone knows Buddy, and people around the town all have one of Buddy's pups, and it just makes like everybody loves all of them because they're so well behaved and they're so fun and they're so good at sports. And I really loved how they did that, and it wasn't like overkill with the pups or anything. They were all grown. Shooter was good at basketball, Striker was good at soccer, like all of them had like a specialty almost, and then there's Buddy who's good at everything he tries, you know, like I really love the camaraderie that added, which I did not expect to like at all. I've only seen clips of the Buddies movies and I'm like, absolutely not, I want no part of that. So I was really pleasantly surprised that I actually enjoyed his puppies being added into this story. I cannot not mention the fact that they got the mom from 2 to come back and be in the 4th one. So not the first mom, not the original mom, the mom from 2, not the 3rd mom, the mom from 2. They've recasted the mom in all 3 movies, got the mom from 2 to come back for the 4th one, which made me laugh so hard. That is so comical to me. Then, I digress with that. The best scene by far and away acted in this movie is the scene between Andrea and Jackie, Cynthia Stevenson, who came back from the 2nd one, when Andrea finally kind of admits that she feels like she's been a little neglected, or that she's not as important as the baby or Josh or Buddy or whoever else, or the stepdad or whoever else. That scene between Jackie and Andrea is amazing. Caitlin Wachs does a fantastic job in that scene, and the fact that Jackie validates that for her, she like gets that vulnerability and just like takes it with the most grace, like, I am sorry, honey, I never meant for you to feel that way. It got me to cry. It was just so touching and so good. As someone who has a brother much older than me, I think I really resonated with Andrea in this movie. I love my brother. He's one of my best friends in the entire world, and he's 8 years older than me. So like this whole idea that she's starting junior high while he's going away to college, quite literally, is very relative to my life. My brother graduated high school when I was starting 5th grade. Like he graduated when I was leaving 4th grade. So like I'm starting like 5th and 6th and all these grades, and my brother graduated high school. So I really, really resonate with Andrea in this film, and I think that is a huge factor in why I got emotional every time she was emotional about Josh. Like I really understand that feeling, and I loved that. I loved that portrayal. I loved that it wasn't a brother-sister who don't get along and she's excited for him to leave and she does want to take his room. I'm really glad they portrayed a brother-sister relationship where the sister's genuinely like devastated that her brother's going away to college. Like that made me really happy, because my brother and I, because of our age difference, didn't super fight. When I was 4 and he was 12, maybe. But like, once we got older, our age difference was so big that it was like, I was never super annoying to him, because he was like, how are you going to, like, no. Like, I'm like 20 now. Like, you know what I mean? So I think, like, we never fought. We never had that relationship. So to see a really nice brother-sister relationship portrayed, like, also really resonated with me. So I really loved that whole entire aspect. I loved that they portrayed, like, brothers and sisters, like, can love each other and be good friends, and, like, it's okay to miss your brother, and, like, all that kind of stuff. I just really loved that, and I really resonated with it, and I think that's, as I said, what played a huge factor in me getting emotional for a lot of those scenes. Another part of this that I just, like, totally adored and found the most charming thing in the entire world was Buddy kind of being a big brother to Andrea. The thing that touched me the most was, like, when she was at school trying out for all these clubs and activities, and Buddy was just, like, outside watching her, or found a way to sneak in and watch her and make sure she was doing okay, or, like, helping her practice baseball because he knows she's struggling, or running her backpack to her because she forgot it, or trying to help her find her dad's watch, which was Josh's watch. Like, it was so touching watching Buddy be a big brother to Andrea in place of Josh. Like, it was so sweet. Overall, I think this movie had a ton of potential, and it was totally derailed by the villains. I think if they didn't have the supervillain scientists and just had Andrea dealing with all these big changes and the dog helping her and her finding love in baseball and stuff like that, that would have been a much more interesting story and would have brought it, like, to compete with number one for me. Obviously, I don't think anything is ever going to top number one for me, but this one was genuinely, without the villains, very good. Without the villains, it was touching, it had heart, it was very sweet. She was dealing with very real emotions and very real things, and she, like, had to navigate that, and it was really wonderful without the villains. The villains brought this movie down. However, I do think this movie is better than 3. 3 is atrocious. 3 is so horrible. But this one, because of the redeeming factors that really remind me of the first one, it's better than the third one. However, the villains bring it way down and bring it closer to 3. I think a lot of lessons here: acceptance, embracing change, navigating change, you know, encouraging vulnerability and openness, and then also, like, you can train dogs to do literally anything, and dogs are incredible. That's everything I have for Air Bud 7th Inning Fetch. My final rating is 5. Baseballs. Baseball bats. Out of 10. Our total movie count is. Our cry count is. Parent death toll is still the same. If you want to keep up with what movie I'm watching when, follow me on Instagram and Twitter. You'll find out what movie I'm watching when. I put out videos every Monday, Friday, and sometimes Wednesday. Join Patreon. Lots of fun stuff going on over there all the time. Buy merch. You can't buy this anymore because it was limited edition, but there is lots of other choices. Go on and check it out. Until next time, comment, like, subscribe, but I'm not in charge of your life. You are, so you do you, and don't be the scientist villains about it. Or the writers who included them.